At 4 o'clock, we got Duke, who's 4-1, traveling to Georgia Tech, who's 2-3. Duke favored by 3.5 points on ESPN3. And this is going to be one of our, I would say, few. I don't think we have a lot of these. We have about, say, maybe three or, yeah, we have about 3 more of these this week. And we got about 5 games total that I'm doing this week, and between unranked football teams. Like, none of the football teams are ranked. And Duke traveling to Georgia Tech is one of them. Duke's 4-1, still technically in playoff contention. And they're one of the few teams on the ACC Atlantic side that is in playoff contention, a side that is quite possibly going to be one of the most chaotic sides of any conference we see this year. I would not say there is a team head and shoulders above any other team, which is going to make for some insane finishes on that side and going to be really interesting at the end of the year. Riley Leonard for Duke has gone 90 of 125 here early on, going from 1,776 yards, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Jalen Coleman is at 58 carries for 308 yards and 4 touchdowns, and Jalen Calhoun is at 23 catches for 356 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jeff Sims through the air for Georgia Tech has gone 81 of 143, thrown for 841 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Hassan Hall on the ground has had 44 carries for 260 yards. And Nate McCullum through the air has had 21 catches for 182 yards. Georgia Tech leads the series all time 53-35. Last 2 games have gone to Georgia Tech in 2020 and 2021. The last game for Duke that was a victory was in 2019. So I think what's going to be really kind of fascinating about this football game is, honestly, you go back a week, I did not expect to be talking about this football game. Right? I expected Duke to lose to Virginia, and I expected, I did not expect to be talking about Duke this late in the season, but I did not expect to be talking about Georgia Tech as much as I have been talking about them. The only game of Georgia Tech's that I have not talked about was the UCF Georgia Tech game. Every single other Georgia Tech game I have been doing on my channel, and they've been eliminated since like week 3. Week 6, guys, which means I've been doing a lot of Georgia Tech games that I didn't really think I was going to be doing this late in the year. But regardless, I'm probably not going to be doing Georgia Tech games in a while too, because even if they win this football game, if UNC loses, but all the teams on that side have been eliminated from playoff contention, so there's really no point. But the Blue Devils have looked surprisingly good here early on. They have been, along with Kansas, one of the bigger surprises of the year. In fact, their only loss is to Kansas. Georgia Tech, on the other hand, looked bad to start the year. And they pulled off a shocker last weekend. Arguably the biggest upset of the year so far, when Georgia Tech beat number 24 Pitt. I understand it wasn't the biggest upset in the world, because no one really expected Pitt to do anything this year. And they're Pitt. They are always known for losing football games they should win. But Georgia Tech was 29-point dogs in that game. It was a huge underdog to go and beat Pitt, and that's what they did. They were 1-0 without Jeff Collins, and honestly, that looked like a good football team against Pitt. That looked like a football team that could have won football games against teams like UCF, against teams like Ole Miss, against teams like even Clemson, maybe. So I think this has the possibility of being a really close football game. You get Georgia Tech at home. They're coming off a big win over Pitt. And this is an even bigger game against Duke, at least in my opinion. Duke has looked phenomenal here early on, and Georgia Tech has a chance to get a big win in ACC play. Remember, they're 1-1, I believe, in ACC play, their only loss being to Clemson. This could be a huge victory for Georgia Tech, and that's what I'm going to go with. Give me Georgia Tech to get the victory at home over the Blue Devils.